Sailing Trip 2. 277 AC. A Baron Martel Pav. Robert Baratheon, the man my sister has an eye on. It seems to be worse than I expected because when I teased her about it, she didn't even react. She just let things be. I have to agree though, he is an impressive specimen. Those wide shoulders, powerful arms and legs and that air of nonchalance when he is in the face of nobles is stimulating. He carries himself with confidence and seems like a happy and amusing man. On the surface. I have always been the chaotic child in the Martell family. I was allowed to do what I wanted mostly because I was a Martell and the youngest child. Mother finds it funny to see what I would do next, but there are things that I can do and already did, that are too far for her tastes. Like the Euronwood case. I shouldn't have done that, but I just thought she was a good lay and then did it. But this one, Robert Baratheon, despite being a Stormlander and a Baratheon to boot, is a dangerous specimen. I can feel it. A viper like me, recognizes another predator when it sees one. And he is nothing less than a dangerous beast. I can tell that he is hiding a dark and ruthless nature that can come to the surface whenever he chooses to. Naturally, I tried to get him to bring it out. But he either doesn't react or laughs about my insults and teasing. Elia sends me poisonous blades with her eyes, warning me to stop what I am doing, but that only makes me want to try more. I am crazy like that. What else is there, than to enjoy myself and life in general? I am also getting more and more interested in seeing him in my bed tonight. He said that he would leave tomorrow, but not if I get any say in the matter and especially not if Elia gets a say in the matter, and she always does. So what is the secret to your success, Robert? What training do you do? Do those muscles help you in bed? How many women and or men have you bedded yet? I ask, trying to make him uncomfortable and also because I'm genuinely interested. My secrets. Well, doesn't everyone have secrets? He says, not answering the last questions. And what are those? My own. Come now. There has to be something wrong with you. I say. A Baron. Mother warns me this time. But I don't react to it. What? Don't tell me you aren't curious as well. From the outside, he appears to be the perfect specimen. Tall for his age, strong, a skilled and intelligent businessman, and charming to the degree of capturing Elia. There has to be some terrible secret that makes you human, no? I ask him, leaning forward. You wouldn't expect me to talk about my faults in front of such esteemed ladies, would you? Robert says. I would actually. Are you insecure about your faults? I ask him. Isn't everyone? He asks with a smile. Are you a coward? I ask him suddenly. A Baron. That is quite enough. Mother says with the gaze she usually uses when I mess up. But Elia is the one looking at me in anger. I know her look, despite her smiling physically, she is fuming inside. Bahaha, you're funny. I believe you haven't yet managed to find someone who didn't react to your jests and insults, making you try and push me more and more. Unfortunately for you, I seldom get angry. Robert tells me. No. Then what do you feel? Pity. Pity. Haha, for whom? For everyone standing against me. As he says those words, the air around him changes. Gone is the good-natured young man. The situation becomes tense and heavy, surprising me and making my response come out too late. Ha ha ha, bold words, Robert Baratheon. I like that. So how about a spar then? We could see whether your words aren't just hot air. What do you say? I ask him with a maniacal grin on my face. A Baron. Stop trying to get a fight with Robert and just accept that he won't react to your teasing. It is getting annoying and sad at this point. Elia says. I only look at Robert though. I refuse. What? Why? Are you scared? No. Then what is it? I already told you, I feel pity for you. We wouldn't want that. Robert says and stands up from the table we were eating at. Princesses and prince, I must deeply apologize, but it is time for me to retire for the night. I am sailing to the free city of Bravos tomorrow and will need all the rest I can get. So if you excuse me. Robert says and nods his head towards Mother and Elia. Certainly, Robert. But we can hardly allow you to go just like that. You are in Dorne and here we don't go to be alone. Mother says with a sultry smile. This makes Andros jealous as far as I can see. Oh, this might be the chance I was hoping for, to get him out of his reserve. What are you saying, Mother? Are you interested in visiting the heir of House Baratheon in his chamber? How naughty of you. What would Andros say? I remark with a grin. Mother narrows her eyes at me, while Andros looks like he is about to explode. He can barely hold on. He has been holding it in for the entirety of dinner. Only a slight push. I think that's enough of that. If you would excuse me. Robert says and then starts to leave. Elia, would you be so kind as to accompany our guest to his room? Mother says, ending my fun prematurely. Yes, Mother. Elia says and leads Robert away from the dining room. After they're gone, Mother looks at me and doesn't say anything for a while. She is just studying me and thinking about something. You know, OB, I always allowed you to do what you wanted and enjoyed your wild and untamed side. But with this, you are making a mistake. Remember what I told you, silent waters run deep. This has nothing to do with your enjoyment and games. Robert Baratheon won't play your games, but he will get you to play his. He is the perfect man for Elia and I will do almost anything to see her happy. What? Is it really at that stage already? What about Prince Rhaegar then? Elia would be queen. I say. Foolish boy, there are many things better than becoming queen. In fact, there is little good about the position. You are still a woman in the end, and besides good food and clothes, you will have to endure just as hard as any other woman in this world. Then what makes Robert Baratheon an interesting match for Elia? She is to have the best in this world. I tell her. She smiles. Of course, my sweet. But Robert Baratheon is unlike any man in this world. He really manages to show the people around him something like respect. Elia would have a happy life with him, I am certain. And if his self-control is anything to go by, I can only imagine the fun she will have at night. Mother says and smiles. Respect. Honor like the Starks or Aarons is a weakness. And what do you mean by self-control? He doesn't seem like much to me, despite having such a strong body. You're lying. I know you see it as well. He has a clear interest in his eyes when he looks at Elia, but he is more than ready for violence and knows he will win. A man doesn't just create something like the guilds and stay successful if he doesn't know how to use his head and be ruthless. The fact that he doesn't fall for your provocations and insults proves it all the more. Don't cross Robert, OB. For Elia's sake. Elia Martell Pav. I walk with Robert at my side to the room which Mother chose for him. It is a luxurious room, which he will find to his liking. I don't say anything while we walk and neither does he. I get more and more frustrated as we walk. I look at him and see that he has a comfortable smile on his face. What are you smiling about? I ask in annoyance. Nothing, just thinking. About what? How you will just leave the day after you arrive. I thought you would at least stay longer to see me. I huff. Well, there are always other ways for us to spend time together. Another place, another time. I'm not trying to keep you away, I just have to do this. He says. Like I would believe that. It has been a long time since we met and you promised we would meet. I am getting annoyed. I never had to be the one to approach a man in my life like this. I feel like I'm losing my touch or allure. I tell him. Is that so? Well, I have my priorities straight. Since I'm 5 and 10, I still have time to marry. Oh. And what about me then? I blurt out without realizing what I was saying. What? I mean, I am older than you and have been in marrying age for a while now. So. You don't have to marry as soon as you bleed for the first time. I don't know why that has to happen. Seems stupid to me. He says. What is it with you? Huh? What do you mean? I am clearly giving you signs here but you don't notice them. Forget it. Good night, Lord Baratheon. I say and walk away. The next day. This was a stupid idea. Sneaking aboard Robert's ship was a stupid idea. What was I thinking? Sigh. I wasn't really thinking probably. The idea that I had to put in effort to get a man's attention was both terribly disappointing and also refreshing. Finally, someone that doesn't just want to FCK me and then leave. Robert clearly looks at me with interest but never in the same way most other men do. He has been interesting since I first met him. But now, I feel like I might have doomed myself. If this doesn't work, I am going to have a very bad time. Who else could ever be equal to Robert? Before I didn't know, but now. Now I do know, and what I know will make every man pale in comparison. A baron helped me sneak on the ship. We bribed a worker not to say anything and even threatened him with the Martell name, should he go back on his word. He had a strange smile when we told him that. I can only hope it's not what I think it was. Knock knock knock. I hear 3 knocks on the door of the room I'm hiding in. I thought it was smart to hide in the storage room, behind some crates, but this is getting rather annoying and painful to do. Knock knock knock. Princess. I hear a voice say behind the door and freeze. Princess Elia. Are you in there? The voice asks again. How? What do I do? Lord Robert has asked to relieve you of your uncomfortable situation and bring you to him. What? Does he know I am on board? But how? The man we bribed. So it was true. He went back on his word. Princess. Can you hear me? If you wish to have some food, I was tasked with bringing you some if that's your wish, but if you. Bang. I push open the door and stop him from talking. Bring me to Robert. This way, princess. The man says with a smile. Now I recognize him as the man we bribed yesterday. This makes me angry. So you ratted us out, despite the warning we gave you. Do you not fear House Martell? I ask him, but he only laughs. Haha, forgive me, princess. But Lord Robert knew that you would try and sneak on board and gave us the instructions to let it happen. The money you gave me was unnecessary but appreciated nonetheless. What? We're here. My lord, Princess Elia is here as you asked. The man says and then leaves again. Thank you, Frank. So. How was the night? Robert asks me with a smirk on his face. You knew I was coming and still left me hiding in the storage room. You fiend. I shout and stomp on the ground. Ha ha ha, I knew you were coming, but not that you would hide in the storage room. Your humility really sets you apart. If it was any other noble lady they would have naturally ordered to be brought to a room or even my room, due to their arrogance. And yet you didn't, which I find very funny and refreshing. But please sit down and eat. I imagine you are famished after the long night. How did you know I would come aboard? I ask him. What, do you think I am really that dense to not recognize when you are clearly giving me signs? I knew it wouldn't sit right with you, and coupled with the way I ignored a Baron the entire night, he was bound to want to get back at me, which would result in him helping you. Not really a grand plan but still an effective one. He says. You manipulated me. Another place, another time, I have my priorities straight, and acting all clueless. You planned this to happen from the start. But why? To get you away from your family. I thought it would be fun to spend some time together alone while making it seem like it was your idea. I can't have my good reputation ruined, after all, I'm a gentleman. Like hell you are. Bahahaha. 54 comments 0 vote. Awaken Bloodline. 278 AC. Robert Baratheon Pav. The day is finally here. The day my bloodline has awakened. I turned 16 today and am lying in bed as I feel like shit. Ironically, thinking about what just happened and what monster I will turn into now that it has finally happened. I awoke a few hours ago when my bloodline started to awaken fully. It was a painful moment for me and almost made me scream out loud for hours. It felt like riding a psychotic horse through a burning stable, it couldn't get any more stressful. My mood went up and down, following the waves of pain and euphoria. But now it is finally over. The bloodline I designed for myself all those years ago. Well, 16 to be exact. Not even that long. So what is my bloodline? As a man of culture, I read comics and mangas and watched anime as I should. As such, I knew about many bloodlines and had ideas of what I could create from scratch. But in the end, I decided to combine things to create something slightly unique with the properties I could use in a treacherous world like this one. And looking back, I am more than glad about it. I wanted my bloodline to give me two things. One, I wanted to have some assurances of loyalty. I wanted to have a way to make sure someone was truly 100% loyal to me. In a world where people scheme and plot to kill their family, just for some ugly thorn, I wanted to surround myself with people I knew would be loyal to me. That's where the idea of the blood came from. Everyone who drank my blood, pure, would be loyal to me and be physically incapable of betraying me. This includes my descendants. When I chose the next heir to House Baratheon, I didn't want to care about infighting. My wish would have to be respected since it was my blood. This little boon can be passed on to my heir, no matter male or female. The heir I chose will have the same boon of not having to worry about being betrayed by his own kind. This will go on and can only be overruled by me. As I am the originator of the bloodline. That way I will ensure that House Baratheon will be united in the future generations. A good idea, truly. The second thing I wanted was the potential to grow powerful. I knew that I could become a Kryptonian, a Saiyan, a mutant from the Richards family or Grey, a cultivator or any other stuff like that. But it wasn't really what I wanted. I still wanted to train and get rewarded for my hard work. I wanted to fight and really get my fists bloody. And for that reason, I thought of two people. Yujiro Hanma and Mark Grayson the Invincible. The Hanma bloodline was an amazingly OP bloodline if you look at it from the perspective of the Baki universe. The laws of that universe didn't allow Yujiro to truly shine, but it showed just what sort of monster he was. Imagine Yujiro in a world like Dragon Ball or One Punch Man. He would become grossly overpowered. Next, Mark Grayson. Naturally, the Viltrumites were far too overpowered of a race to enjoy myself in this world, and I knew that. But I also knew that they had far too good abilities to just pass up on it. And so I had a better idea. Instead of combining the Hanma bloodline with the Viltrumite one, I would take what I wanted from both of them and create something special. I took the martial talent, the love for fighting and training, and the potential from the Hanma bloodline. And from the Viltrumites, I took only one thing. The smart atoms. Smart atoms, remember, they're states in relation to both their users and their environment, but can also grant capable of extraordinary self-encoding feats at atomic levels to react to any changes in that as much as they can enhance users' physical capabilities to extreme extents that go beyond their normal state. For instance, atoms in a muscle can ensure that the molecules behave normally even under extreme forces. Or atoms in the air can be forced to maintain their relative positions, thus acting like an impenetrable wall. These atoms are also able to extract background energy, or vacuum energy, as their source of energy. It is thanks to the smart atoms that Viltrumites can heal from usually fatal wounds and can grow stronger when fighting or reaching near-death states. It is also thanks to the smart atoms that they continue to age slower the older they get. So with those things made up, I added my 2 points number 1 and number 2 together and created the current bloodline. What is important to note is that I am neither a Hanma nor am I a Viltrumite. I am still a human being with a new bloodline. I am not as strong as a Viltrumite. In fact, my strength hasn't increased at all since yesterday. I will simply have to train to grow stronger. That's what I wanted. To be a really powerful human with the potential to wreak havoc on the battlefield as well as heal from otherwise fatal injuries. Another thing that I can now finally do is not care about potential STDs or other diseases. Most of them are far too weak to kill me now. I can still die, but that is the thrill of life. Being immortal is boring and not something I was hoping for. There is also a special additional boon that I'll see when I finally impregnate my future woman. The woman whom I decided to wed will experience something special during the nights of love-making. But we'll see that when it comes to that. I stand up from the bed and look at myself in the mirror. I can feel the new power inside me. Not strength, but the sheer potential is impressive. My muscles are already impressive, but they will now reach the levels of Yujiro Hanma. I can't wait to make ladies swoon when I take off my shirt and just flex my upper body. Haha, that will be fun. 6 months have passed since I went to Bravos with Elia. I used the time well to get to know her better and find out about her. Taking a Dornish wife is basically guessing whether your child is your own or where your wife was last night when she didn't return. Not really something I want for myself. But Elia seemed different and I wanted to make sure before I decided on anything. I wasn't planning on using my blood to make my wife loyal to me. If I had reasons to believe I would have to do that, I rather just get myself another wife. I value different things in a woman compared to other men. Beauty is what gets your dick hard, but it's not what keeps the relationship stable. With my bloodline, I know that I will be able to please my wife in and out of bed thoroughly, and theoretically she wouldn't have to get it somewhere else, but this is a damned world. Everything that is terrible is possible. And if shit can happen, it will. After sailing to Bravos, I spent a lot of time with Elia. I learned about her likes and dislikes. What made her tick and what pissed her off. She was far too frail of a woman for a world in the current time. I am sure that she would die during childbirth, and if it's me, probably during sex. But thankfully, I had thought of that when I created my bloodline. Again, more on that later. As I learned more about Elia, she learned more about me as well. We dropped decorum and pretenses rather quickly and talked like good friends. Good friends that you might have in the modern times, not the fake good friends of these times. She has a good heart, Elia Martell, but she's not a naive or stupid woman. She understands the need for cruelty and ruthlessness if you want to survive in this world. She knows that I have just as much potential for violence and death, if not more, than any other successful man in this world. I came to appreciate the time I spent with her and we grew close. For the first time, I let myself go a bit. I admit it took a full moon for that to happen, but it happened. We hadn't consummated our relationship yet. I didn't want to catch some disease before my failsafe set in. Which it has right now, thankfully. The sexual tension is killing me, to be honest, and she has been getting more and more forward with her advances. I mean, she told me that she wants to fuck after all this time, and if we don't finally do it on my 16th name day, which is today, she will just rape me. She has no shame. Death by SNU. Not a bad way to go. But with her physical condition, that is a pipe dream. After getting to Bravos and securing a lucrative business deal with a powerful owner of a shipyard, I spied on him, found out where he lived, beat the shit out of him, and then forced him to drink my blood to make him loyal. Cough. I went back to Dornay and dropped Elia off in Sunspear. I promised her to come again and that we would spend time together. That has been happening for 2 moons until the defiance of Duskendale finally ended. Miraculously, King Aerys was saved by Sir Barristan the Bold and the siege ended. But since then, the realm has changed. It is no longer the same I knew before, and many things had to change considerably. King Aerys' vengeance was terrible, just like predicted. Though Lord Dennis Darkland begged for mercy, the king demanded the deaths of Dennis and his immediate family, as well as his uncles, aunts, and distant House Darkland kinsmen living in Duskendale. House Hollard, Lord Dennis's goodkin, was also attempted and executed. Sir John Hollard, who had been married to Dennis's sister, went missing without his wife and young son. Robin Hollard, the son of Sir John, the squire who pulled Aerys's beard and danced around him when he had first been seized, died upon the rack. The reports were detailed and brutal, showing me that my secretive approach to this situation was the right one. And that my plans had bore fruit. I used this defiance well. Dennis's wife, Lady Sarala, had her tongue and womanly parts torn out, after which she was burned alive. It was a terrible description of what they did to her. Thankfully and strangely, a stray arrow pierced her heart when they were going at it and killed the poor woman. It is said that the king screamed maniacally when his revenge was taken from him. Despite what happened, the people of Duskendale still loved Lord Dennis. They blamed his foreign wife, Sarala, and half of them still feel that the punishment Aerys gave her was too kind by half, and they were very upset when that arrow killed her, saving her from excessive suffering. The lands and incomes of Duskendale were granted to House Riker, who has a very close relationship with one of the guild branch leaders, while the lands of House Hollard were taken away, their villages burned, and their castle torn down. The men and women mysteriously disappeared, never to be seen again. Following his half-year of captivity at Duskendale, Aerys too was forever a changed man. From Thomas's reports and the ravens sent by the guilds, he has lost it, and his paranoia will only grow further. This will destabilize the realm as far as I can tell, making him the greatest danger to my plans in the future. If the rumors are to be believed, the king no longer allows others to touch him, and as a result, his hair and fingernails grow longer and longer. No blades are allowed near him, except for the swords of his Kingsguard, and his judgments become more severe and crueler. From the end of the defiance in 277 AC, until now 278 AC, Aerys refused to leave the Red Keep. Another important thing that happened is that the king finally decided to wed his son, Crown Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. He has sent father to Volantis to find a bride, of noble birth from an old Valyrian bloodline, for Prince Rhaegar. But that doesn't seem to be going well. From the Ravens, father sends Stannis and me. But I hope that he does find one so that the king doesn't do anything stupid. My gut is telling me of a storm that is approaching, and that it might be better to kill the king right now and let his son take over. But doing so would result in another different storm. Maybe this is what I was told about being king, taking things into my own hands. I never thought about it anymore and just concerned myself with Storm's End and the Stormlands. But now, let's hope Rhaegar Targaryen gets a good bride and that the old cunt dies soon. And so it finally happened. Robert awakened his full bloodline. He is not a full Hanma or a Viltrumite. He is himself, but has gotten some of the advantages both their bloodlines grant them for himself. He has given himself potential. Potential for growth, something I enjoy much more than an instant power-up or full Kryptonian. He will never learn to fly or something like that, so don't worry about him becoming outrageously OP. Now he needs to train and fight his ass off to truly grow into it. His stats look like this currently. Current height, 6 feet 3. Current strength, the same strength as Gregor Clegane at his peak and growing. 75 comments 0 vote. You shouldn't have done that. I am surprised that there are many who are unhappy about the bloodline. Some say he was nerfed, some say he is grossly op or that his bloodline is basically mind control. All he got was potential. Potential to grow beyond peak human in the ASOIAF world. The Hanma and Viltrumite stuff was just to give an example. He is not a Viltrumite and he is also not a Hanma, although I will post a picture of how he will look later on. He is still a human but with potential. He will never fly, he will never throw a meteorite back into space, he will never punch the ground and stop an earthquake, okay. I wanted him to be able to grow beyond peak human of that world. There are so many people who just give their MCs the super soldier serum and I didn't want to do that. My MC should have a minor healing factor and some protection against diseases, smart atoms. He is not op right now. He will have to train hard to grow stronger. He didn't gain a power up. Again, this is only potential. 278 AC. Stannis Baratheon Pav. I'm so sorry Robert. I know you liked Elia. Father says to Robert. Robert looks to be angry. I don't think I have ever seen him this angry before. He is holding it together perfectly but his sunshine has just died. All that is left is frost. If I didn't know any better, I'd say the temperature in the room just dropped. Father has finally returned from his stupid trip the king has sent him on, to Volantis. To find Prince Rhaegar Targaryen a wife of Valyrian blood. But the mission failed, father didn't find one. When he returned, he got into a big storm in Shipbreaker Bay. Had it not been for the improvements and expansion of the docks Robert and I did, both of our parents would have died that day. Father went to King's Landing to tell his cousin the king about the result of his journey. Aerys was furious and accused father of being a traitor and not doing his job right. He was whipped in front of thousands of people, for something that wasn't true. I was just absolutely livid when I found out about it. But we were livid when we heard that he almost did the same to mother. Robert. It feels like he could kill someone with his eyes alone. Or with his presence. Something has changed. But that wasn't enough. The humiliation Aerys put father, the Lord of House Baratheon and Lord Paramount of the Stormlands, through wasn't enough. No, in his rage over the failed attempt to find a bride with Valyrian blood for his son, the king chose to do something utterly foolish. He demanded for Elia Martell to wed Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. Sigh, what a mess. When the news was out, I was shocked for a moment and then in disbelief. It was known that Robert and Elia were to be betrothed as soon as father returned from his stupid trip to Volantis and yet. Aerys didn't care. But that's not all. We got ravens from Elia who was in Sunspear, telling us that her mother the Princess of Dorne has refused the marriage proposal and told Aerys about her daughter's intended betrothal to Robert. Not even a sennight later a raven arrives from Sunspear telling us that Princess Sarah Martell, sadly died in a tragic accident. He killed her. I am certain that it wasn't entirely his idea though. The Mad King, as I have started to call him, is not fully capable of doing things this tidy if you will. He would more likely have the Princess of Dorne burned alive for refusing his command, but she was killed and while it didn't seem like an accident, it was still rather intricate and not as straightforward. So I believe this idea came from someone else. Naturally, Doran Martell the current Prince of Dorne accepted the marriage proposal between Elia and Rhaegar and it is to happen in 2 moons. Robert is burning inside. I can feel it. Our bond is close. Closer than it ever was, thanks to the hundreds of projects we do together and all the time we spend together talking and drinking. I don't see good tidings for the king in the near future. If there is one certain thing, it is that Robert is a true Baratheon. Ours is the fury, and right now, that fury belongs to Robert. When father returned from Volantis, I talked with Robert. I told him that I was glad he had found happiness in this world, but that his feelings were blinding him and distracting him. I told him that he was missing the harsh reality of this world and that his logical and political thinking were suffering from it. I told him the harsh and naked truth, which Robert appreciated more than anything. I am still convinced that had I been anyone else, he would have killed me on the spot. It may have sounded like I was either jealous of his happiness or didn't want him to be happy for some reason. But that wasn't the case. I was worried he might forget everything around him out of sheer happiness since it was his first relationship after all. As hard as that is to believe. Instead of getting angry, which would be the expected reaction, Robert took a moment to think about it and finally agreed that he had been getting rather lax since getting closer to Elia. He asked me what I would suggest. Naturally, I suggested he go through the last few messages from our spies. As much as we both hated it, we had to prepare for the Mad King's eventual fall. He was going to do stupid things and we had to prepare for the worst when he set his eyes on something that belongs to us. The guilds mostly. We were right about that since the king has increased taxes on our guilds and only the guilds. He also refused to let them leave Westeros and trade with Essos, but that was a ridiculous notion and we didn't care about it. Who would have thought that now, Aerys took something else from us, from Robert. Just to spite Tywin Lannister, Aerys Targaryen chose to wed his son to Elia Martell. A wedding between House Lannister and House Targaryen would have been so much better for them. It would have given the realm stability and further improved the power of House Targaryen and its economic might. But now, they had another problem entirely. Now they had an angry Robert to deal with. And I don't wish that on my worst enemies. God save the king. I am currently sitting with Robert alone in our private solar. The place where many successful and lucrative business ideas and renovations for Storm's End were born. The place for ideas and innovation. Robert is thinking. He has his eyes focused on something outside as he stands in front of the window. He said that he liked the evening sun and spent a lot of money on the window. I admit that I didn't like to spend that much money on a window, but now I enjoy it as well. He is far away. His brain is working so hard, I can almost hear it rattle inside. Sigh. He sighs and then turns around looking at me. He came to a conclusion of sorts. I decided. I was negligent and allowed myself to relax a bit. Too much it would seem. He says with a self-deprecating smile, that pains me a bit. Nonsense, Rob. You are allowed to relax after 16 years of hard work for our house in the Stormlands. The people love you and we are making more money than ever before. Soon we will overtake the Golden Cats by storm, as is our way. I say, trying to lessen his burden. I appreciate your words, Stannis. But it is the truth. In this world a man can have anything. If he is willing to sacrifice. What are you suggesting? Give up on Elia. Naturally. Pushing for it would harm not only House Martell but most importantly our house as well. It seems that the king has decided to punish us. Forget killing Sarah Martell or annulling my betrothal to Elia. He dared to harm father and to even think of touching mother. He has dared to take what isn't his, and if my guess is correct, he is not yet done. You mean? He will turn towards the guild soon. But why? The money. They existed before, so what makes them interesting now? Does his mental state have anything to do with it? I ask him. In a way. But it's not the main reason for this. Someone is whispering into his ear. You mean the spider, the master of whispers. But what could be his interest in telling the king to do this? Revenge. No. He is simply using the paranoia of the king and feeding him lies about us in order to reduce our power while he has the chance. He knows that doing anything would result in terrible consequences, but it would be worse if he waited any longer. Why? Fear, brother. Of what? You. Not just us, but the alliance and connections I have with 3 other kingdoms. 3. I understand. The North, the Vale and Dorne. At least before. Interesting. So the spider plotted to reduce our power and political standing by convincing the king to not marry Rhaegar to Cersei Lannister and instead insult Tywin more by marrying Rhaegar to Elia and also harming us. So he took away one of our friends by killing off Sarah Martell, the Princess of Dorne, and put Doran Martell in power, who has no connection to us. Impressive. I finally understand. Indeed. Quite a good plan on their part. But the time has come to do something about it. They shouldn't have done that. I was complacent in the political area and that will change. What have you planned? We will strike him where it hurts. We will slowly take everything from them until there is nothing left except their lives, and then I will take that too. No one can take anything from me. You mean? That's right, brother. Operation Stinging Takeover has begun. Time for a regime change. Elia Martell Pav. A letter arrived from Robert. I couldn't stop crying. For once in my life, I thought I could escape the reality that was my weak existence. I was liked and appreciated for the kindness I developed due to my condition, but I was never really considered a true Dornish woman. I didn't FCK one man or woman after the other like my brother does, and I am no seductress. A baron calls me the gentle beauty. That might not be the first thing that catches the eye, but is still pretty long after the others have lost their luster. I was a rather silent child. Poised and gentle. The exact opposite of a baron who was lively and chaotic, always looking for adventure and trouble. And now, after finally getting a man who interested me and whom I actually fell for the first time, I am taken away and given to some pretty prince because of politics. Not only was my love taken away from me, but mother was killed because of it as well. I lost two people and soon, after the marriage, I will lose the rest of my family as well. I can't stop crying. Elia, I hear the gentle voice of a baron as he walks towards me and hugs me gently from behind. I'm sorry, Elia. I really am. But try and look on the bright side, you now get to marry the crown prince and become queen someday. And then, you return to Dornay and finally take a paramour for yourself. I don't want that. I wanted Robert. He was just better. Better. How would you know that? He was the first, no. I turn around to him and see his cheeky smile. What? Did you think your brother wouldn't know? I know what they said behind your back. But don't worry, I always saw you for who you really were. My gentle sister who could do no wrong. So tell me. How was he? Who? What do you mean, who? Robert Baratheon, of course. Please, I smelled sex all over you the morning after and all the other times you two did it as well. Who do you take me for? Mind blowing. It is better than what I have heard. I admit. Oh. Do tell. I haven't seen him exhausted in bed one time. It felt like he could go on forever and I almost always passed out from exhaustion. Is that so? Well, I might have to visit. No. You shall not. You mean there is a potential sex master and I am not to taste it? It was true. Robert Baratheon nearly killed me in bed. He knew what to do and after learning what I liked, gave me all of it and more. I nearly lost my mind. No, I did lose my mind. And now I won't ever have it again. Don't think that. What do you mean? You probably thought that you would never get to do it with him again. But if it's a command from the future Queen of Westeros, then I'm sure he would have to accept. One can dream. As I said, there is a very easy way of provoking Robert. No chapter for a few days. The next arc is incoming and it will be an important one. I need to plan that out first. 80 comments, 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. Daoist WDFD8H. Download app now. In retrospect. 289 AC. Third person POV. In a giant and equally beautiful and powerful castle, a small boy with short black hair and green eyes was walking through the corridors as fast as he could. He had reached his 5th name day a while ago and the festivities were officially over. This meant that his lessons started again and that's where he was going right now. He had eaten a hearty breakfast with his family as they always do, which had become a family tradition where they exchanged banter, stories, and worries with one another. It was a moment when they were alone and could enjoy themselves. He opened the castle library door, which was exclusive for the family and a select few. The door was heavy, but thankfully the boy didn't have to open it on his own. As soon as he came running, the 2 guards standing at the door smiled and one of them opened it for him. Late again, are we, Edric? Better get in quick, he's waiting. Thanks, John. I'm running as you see. The boy says, getting the 2 guards to chuckle. The boy walks into the room and no longer runs as it is forbidden from running in this room. Looking around, Edric sees the familiar look he has known for years now. His mother came when he was but a babe and sat in front of the wide fireplace to drink tea and read him some stories. His father also takes all of the family to read with them and enjoy their evenings together. From Edric's vantage point, the library seems even more immense as he might be a tall 5-name-day-old child, but he is still only 5. The shelves stretch up high, far beyond his reach, filled with books containing generations, knowledge, stories and secrets. The room feels like a different world of mystery and endless possibilities to Edric. He can almost hear the whispers of history contained within the leather-bound volumes and he gets giddy just thinking about all of them. Edric loves to read about history and the adventures of knights, princes or normal men and women from the small folk. But the stories he enjoys the most are the ones that depict the accomplishments of one particular man. His chest rises with pride thinking about it. After walking for a moment, he reaches the place where he is having all of his lessons. They started 2 years ago when he was 3. Normally children would never start at that age, in this time and age, but Edric was special. He might prefer the physical training over the intellectual one, but he still enjoys many things that have to do with history and economics. The lessons started out very simply with games that were meant to tickle his imagination and intellect slowly. Whenever he could, Edric's father would spend time with him and teach him as well as play with him. Edric loves his family dearly. It was one of the virtues his parents instilled in the children. Mother also seemed to love her family. She seemed to love her brother and respect her father. But Edric could tell that she loved his father and her children more than anything in the world. His father was the same, but he loved his younger brother as well. Morning, Professor. Edric greets his teacher and sits down on the small chair reserved for him. Good morning, Edric. How were the festivities? Did you enjoy yourself? Professor Lamont asks. Picture. I did. It was great. Mother went above and beyond again, to make it as enjoyable for me instead of the usual nonsense that only serves to please the other lords and ladies. Edric says. Oh. What do you think is the reason for such feasts and celebrations? Lamont asks him. For several reasons. For one, inviting other noble families to celebrations helps to strengthen political alliances and foster good relations. It provides an opportunity to reinforce existing alliances or forge new ones. And secondly, hosting grand celebrations showcases our power, wealth, and influence. It serves as a reminder to allies and rivals alike of our family's status and capabilities. Correct. Spoken like you memorized it from a book. Hee hee. Nevertheless, you are mostly correct. There are of course other reasons for it as well. Like tradition, social networking, negotiations and exchange of information. But that isn't what we want to discuss today, is it? Professor, can we do another history book today? Edric asks. And what are you thinking of? I wanted to know more about the events that led to the tourney at Harrenhal and then later. You know. Very well. We ought to go over those years anyway, and getting in touch with the present helps us not to lose ourselves in the past. Let me see now. Lamont asks and goes to search for a book on one of the shelves. Here we go. A relatively new book. And a secret one as well. This one was written by me, after all. I will be able to fill in the blanks that weren't allowed to be written down. This special room is one of the only ones in the world where the walls don't have ears. Alright, here we go. A History of a King. His Grace Robert I Baratheon, Volume 2. Let me skip the parts that aren't very important and get to the parts that are. As you already know, King Robert was once thinking about getting betrothed to another woman. Fought. Really? Who was it? Edric asks, interested. It was Elia Martell, the daughter of the late Princess Sarah Martell, the mother of the current Prince Doran Martell. You already know him. But things weren't meant to be, it seems. Let's see here. But this wasn't meant to be. The relationship, if it could be called such, between Robert Baratheon, then still heir to House Baratheon, and Elia Martell, was a short one. Although it seemed that they enjoyed each other's company, their romance was very short-lived. Professor. Yes. Why did you say it like that? What do you mean? Relationship. Ah, well, you see. It was hardly long enough to be called a relationship. Also. Professor Lamont started to whisper for some reason. I see no reason to anger the Queen when it isn't necessary. It wouldn't be proper. He, you're scared of Mother. Edric smiled. Cough, let's not talk about it and continue. Where was I? Ah, here. Although it seemed that they enjoyed each other's company, their romance was very short-lived. They were separated rather forcefully by King Aerys Targaryen, who was looking for a bride to marry to his son, Rhaegar Targaryen. In an attempt to search for a bride, King Aerys had sent his cousin, Stefan Baratheon, to Volantis in search for a woman with Valyrian heritage. It didn't work. Stefan Baratheon was whipped in front of all the court, and even Lady Cassana was almost stripped bare that day. What? Grandmother was almost stripped. How dare he? Some say the fact that all of the lords and knights present that day were killed quickly is a testament to the fact that your grandmother was in fact not stripped. Someone, no one knows for sure, managed to stop the former King Aerys that day. And I can say, thank goodness for that. If there's anything my father has, it is the Baratheon fury for anything concerning his family. But it seldom shows. I have never seen it myself, but Mother told me about it. Indeed, young Edric. You see, the man who is in control of his emotions is that much more dangerous as he can productively channel his feelings, just like your father did back then. You will surely learn that in the future. Now, let us continue. It was announced afterwards that Rhaegar Targaryen was to marry Elia Martell, but some didn't like that. The Princess of Dorne, Sarah Martell, refused the offer at first and sadly died shortly after that. No one knows for sure what happened there, as it looked like an accident. But there are reasons to believe that it was done intentionally to weaken the connections the Stormlands had with the other seven kingdoms. And it seemed to work, since after Elia Martell married Rhaegar Targaryen in early 279 AC, she belonged to the Crownlands and King's Landing. Therefore there was no longer anyone in Dorne who was close to House Baratheon. The rest of year 278 AC up to the year 281 AC saw a great change and progress for the Stormlands and Storm's End in particular. You see, after getting disrespected by King Aerys, His Grace foresaw more insults and attacks on House Baratheon. So together with your uncle Stannis Baratheon, your father had to make preparations. They prepared for the day that the king pushed the guilds too far and waited for an incident to happen. Meanwhile, he began investing more money in the improvement and expansion of Storm's End and prepared plans for all of the Stormlands. Many meetings were held with the Stormlords and business deals were implemented. No one knows what they talked about during those meetings, but it is said that the Stormlords became much closer after their meetings, like brothers in a way. Business deals were made and other connections as well. The Stormlands started to slowly unify under one true banner, House Baratheon. This result is not very surprising though, since our King Robert I Baratheon has enough charisma to sway his mortal enemies to his side. As the year 279 AC arrived, shortly after their marriage, Rhaenys Targaryen was born prematurely. Big Sis was born prematurely. I didn't know that. Edric says. That's not something you tell anyone, Edric. It is rather personal and doesn't really matter anyway. You wouldn't notice the truth if you saw her. The Grand Maester Pycelle at the time was surprised at how healthy she was. Robert Baratheon started to visit the north and the Vale of Arryn more often. His foster brother, Eddard Stark, and foster father, Jon Arryn, were the primary reason for that. But it didn't stop the young lord from helping both of the kingdoms with their problems. The Vale had problems with the mountain clans and the north had a problem with their harsh winters and the exorbitant prices the Reach had on their food. Using his connections with the Merchant Guild, His Grace was able to arrange for a meeting to take place in Winterfell between Lord Rickard Stark and the representative of the Merchant Guild in the north. The young lord was present during the meeting as well, and it was arranged for the north to get better prices on the food they ordered. However, Lord Rickard was unhappy with the tensions that would arise with the Reach and decided against the deal in the end. A mistake on his part, as it turned out, because a year later in 280 AC another winter struck, forcing the north to buy a lot of food from the Reach. In the late 279 AC, the king decreed that the guilds were to pay more taxes, which wasn't accepted. The guilds went so far as to leave King's Landing for a while. This caused a lot of tension because Aerys refused to let them leave and surrounded them with the city watch, forcing them to pay anyway. This tension continued to rise and the king even started to focus on the Stormlands, but it all found a very sudden end. In early 280 AC, there was an assassination attempt on the king. Aerys was attacked and his spine wounded, which effectively paralyzed him and ended his interest in Robert Baratheon and the guilds. It was a great scandal and many people were burnt alive by the decree of the king. It was a terrible time for King's Landing. And as it turned out, it would not be the only thing that happened to the king that year. In the Vale of Arryn, the young lord arranged for a force to be brought together who were interested in getting rid of the mountain clans. Surprisingly, quite a lot of lords were interested in eradicating the Vale of the mountain clans and sent men to fight for the cause. The young Lord Baratheon was the one leading the charge of the advancement, and a force of 200 men and women started to train under him. It was a very successful endeavor on our king's side. He managed to form the 200 men and women into a single unit in record time. They went about it methodically and started to move through the Vale, destroying the mountain clans they came across and ridding the Vale of them. The exact details aren't known, but most if not all the mountain clans were eradicated by the small force, earning them a great reputation. Robert Baratheon was pushed into the Vale Lords' good graces and their opinion of him couldn't be better at that point. In mid-280 AC, things started to get heated in King's Landing and the Red Keep. Rumors started to spread that the king abused his queen, which resulted in growing unrest and some minor riots taking place, where the important business ventures of the king were hid and plundered. There were different rodents and frogs found in the king's food quite often, which resulted in even more deaths and burnings. Hundreds of cooks and servants had to die and it was a very dark time for the small folk. Out of all the changes and improvements, Storm's End was the one that saw the most of them. It was transformed into a large fortress and will probably be remembered in the generations to come. Is that all, Professor? Edric asks. No, there are many other things that happened, which I didn't include in this volume or any other for that matter. Writing more would be like exposing secrets to enemies and rivals. And that would be folly. Lamont says. Very well. I'll ask Father about the details then. See you tomorrow, Professor. Edric says and walks out of the room, leaving a smiling man behind. The truth is much too dangerous and valuable to write in a single book. His Grace will surely be known as the greatest king to ever live and the one who knew how to play the game the best. Of that I am certain. Lots of spoilers in this chapter. The chapter before was not me whining but explaining things. If you don't like his bloodline, or anything else, just leave. No need to announce that you left. This was a small sneak peek I came up with. The next arc will begin in about a week from now. 67 comments, 0 vote. Tourney at Harrenhal I. 281 AC. Rhaegar Targaryen Pav. It is finally time. Yes, my prince. Finally, you will begin taking over and take your rightful place as king of the Seven Kingdoms. John tells me. John Connington, the dearest and most loyal of my friends. He loves me just like I had hoped he would. There is nothing he won't do for me. When his father, Armand, died, John inherited the rule of Griffin's Roost, but when John left to serve at King's Landing, to serve me, he named his cousin, Sir Ronald Connington, as Castellan. I can count on him to do anything I want and that is good. I used him to keep an eye on the important players in King's Landing and report to me. He is the reason I found out that Elia was unable to bear any more children. She was useless. I had to have a wife who bore me 3 children. I needed to have her birth the prince who was promised. But she is useless and an utter disappointment. Rhaenys looks far too Dornish and the sex was terrible. Aegon, I don't know how he came to be. I tried to have her bear me a child that looked Targaryen but she didn't manage. I never touched her again after Aegon. She disgusts me and then she can't even have more anyway. I curse Father for giving her to me. It would have been better if she married Robert Baratheon and allowed me to have a stronger wife, who was worthy to bear me my 3 children. The 3 dragons, 1 for each head. How did the reconnaissance go? Did you get the information I asked for? I asked John. Yes, my prince. As much as it pains me to say it, Robert Baratheon and his younger brother Stannis Baratheon are attending the tourney. Although Robert hasn't set sail yet, Stannis has. Of that we are certain. What do you mean by that you are certain? I asked him. Well. As you know, it has been impossible to get any kind of spies into Storm's End in the last few years. The only one who might be able to do that is the Spider, but we can't trust him. He is your father's loyal servant. What we do know is from the sailors of our ship that is docking in Storm's End. Not even the inns are useful for information anymore. It seems that they earn enough money to stay loyal to the Baratheons. We are basically blind. But the sailors told us that Stannis Baratheons boarded a ship a few days ago. I see. It is as I thought. Robert Baratheon is a worthy supporter of my cause. He will be useful. I smile thinking about me sitting on the Iron Throne with Robert Baratheon supporting me with anything I may need. I thought he was interesting when I first saw him, but to think he was capable of making House Baratheon this powerful in just a few years. I must have him. My prince. He is one of the lords I have to get on my side. His support will be useful and his charisma can rival my own. But he is a stag. What could he offer us? He was able to increase his house's status and make them one of the richest houses, rivaling the top 3 if rumors are to be believed. Money. Are you certain that is all? All. No, of course not. Just thinking about me having taken his woman and impregnating her was already stimulating as I knew he usually got everything he wanted. But I was the true prince and soon to be king. He was but a stag. The Targaryens took a portion of the Stormlands and made them the Crownlands, and the same thing I will do to him. I have already taken Elia, even though I am angry with that decision now, and will continue to take away his money, status and everything else. He will be my servant, like Tywin Lannister was my father's. I can't help but feel bliss when thinking about him bowing his head to me. Just because I know he will hate that. I will use my superior charm and social skills to make him join my cause. It shouldn't be hard to convince Robert Baratheon to join our cause. It was my father who broke the planned engagement between him and Elia. The madness of my father has to end and I am the best option for that. He will see reason, as the guilds are affected as well. And if there's anything I was able to gather, it is that he values money and status. Why else would he just let Elia be taken by me? He was afraid of fighting for her. I have him figured out. I understand, my prince. What about his grace, your father? Jon asks me. My father was a growing problem. After the defiance of Duskendale, his mental state started to deteriorate, but it was controllable. We could deal with the outcomes of his actions somewhat, and for a time, I was happy about it too. I was able to take advantage of his mistakes and show my graciousness and love for the small folk. I was the shining, silver prince that I was meant to be. The future king. But the assassination attempts ruined everything. In 279 AC, someone dared to try and kill my father and stabbed him in his spine, paralyzing him completely. That was the moment his health in general dropped and continued to drop. He grew even more paranoid and angry. He executed many criminals almost every week, and it was starting to get too much. No one would accept me anymore. I was seen as my father's son. The small folk dared to shut their doors in my face. Me. They dared to shut their doors in my face. I was furious, and I still am. And to make matters worse, a new group of vermins rose up and helped those in need with protection, food and other goods they would need, taking away all the support I might have gotten. No matter the amount of knights we sent to find them, they would always elude us. My reputation fell despite my hard work to stop it. It only got worse as 280 AC arrived, and with it a new winter. Naturally, my father demanded food to be sent to King's Landing and raised the taxes as well. No one was happy about that. The food nevertheless arrived, and so did most of the taxes. There were those who couldn't pay them, which caused more discord and punishments. It continued to spiral downwards like this as rumors began to spread that the king abused his queen. It was true, of course. My father physically abused an Arped mother whenever he felt like it. It got less after the assassination attempt since he was paralyzed, but he still found a way. Naturally, no one believed those rumors at first, but as they began to be more detailed and eyewitnesses started to testify, people began to believe it. The result was growing unrest and some minor riots taking place. Some very important business ventures of the king were hit and plundered. But not just his. Mine as well. Who cares about the rumors? This was terrible. I had to do something and tried to send out spies, like Jon, to find out who those responsible were. Without luck. So I went to the spider and asked him, but he didn't know anything either. I could tell that something was bothering him that he wasn't talking about. I thought he looked scared, or unsure of himself, which was strange. The attacks grew more organized, and at one point even the High Septon and his Faith of the Seven were not spared from the anger and rumors spreading through King's Landing and the realm. They took a heavy hit. But things started to hit rock bottom after that. Inside the food which was sent to King's Landing, there were rodents and insects found inside it. But only in that from the royal family. No, that's not true. Only in my and my father's food. That was it, the moment my father lost it completely. He killed cooks, maids, servants, and even knights. I would not be angry normally, but those he killed were all my men and my spies. Everyone was suspicious for my father. The ones who prepared the food, the ones who sold the food. Even the different kingdoms, especially the Reach, got into the bad graces. The Tyrells lost their good image in the eyes of my father, and even I started to think they were planning something. The look Mace Tyrell had when my father accused him of plotting against him, or how the Tullys reacted. They were truly like fish at that moment. My father doesn't know anything about what we're planning. I made sure to instruct Walter went on his part and to keep silent about everything. If he followed my orders, he would live and get to enjoy the gold I promised. The pathetic man was all too eager to get into the future king's good graces, I presume. Jon says. He was. Which is good. Many people across the realm are bound to come to the tourney, and that's when I will use my charm to capture the hearts of the ladies first, and once I have them, the men will follow. Indubitably. With the amount of prize money you told Lord went to give out, many lords and ladies will arrive. Your plan will succeed, my prince. If you allow me to ask, my prince, how did you come up with the idea? I heard talks about the tourney as I was walking through King's Landing. I got the idea after listening to the talks of the people and their anger with my father. I thought that holding a tourney would allow me to do two things at once. I could gather loyal lords behind me to finally succeed my father and take the Iron Throne, and so that the focus would shift from the problems happening in King's Landing. We have to do something about the unrest, otherwise, we will have a revolution at hand, and there are 500 feet 000 people living in King's Landing. Should they decide to rebel, there is nothing we could do. You are correct, my prince. I am in awe at how your mind works. But what if the spider tells your His Grace about your plans? You said he doesn't know anything about them yet, but what if it changes? No need to worry. Even if Varys tells my father anything, it wouldn't be of any use to him. He can't know what I am planning, and if he does guess correctly, he can't prove it. Meeting with other lords of the realm is not a crime. On the contrary, my father should be proud of me for trying to improve our relations with the other kingdoms. And if that's not enough, I will make something up about a conspiracy I heard. He'll surely believe that. A clever idea, my prince. I am honored to be at your service at all times. Jon replies. Of course, you are. Just like everyone else. I know that, Jon, and I am grateful that you don't see me like those poor souls in King's Landing see me. When I am king, I will remember all that stood by my side, and you will become my hand, this I swear. You will be covered with gold, titles, lands, and women. Anything you can dream of will be given to you. I can see the happiness in his eyes, but also the devotion towards me. I did a good job with him. That is far too much honor, my prince. I will be loyal and devoted to you until the day I die, that I swear. I'm sure you will, Jon. I'm sure you will. Chapters will not be daily anymore. Every second or third day. 86 comments, 0 vote. Tourney at Harrenhal 2. 281 AC. Varys Pav. I can't help but furrow my forehead in frustration. This is just impossible. Once again, my plan on getting to the bottom of things has failed. I feel how I get more anxious daily as more and more of my little birds disappear seemingly without a trace. Getting new ones is not hard. There are enough orphans and malleable children in the realm who will work for the greater good and its people. The problem stems from the fact that someone knows who my little birds are. I suspected Robert Baratheon initially. Of course, why wouldn't I? He was the rising star and for some reason seemed too perfect. And if my life experience has taught me anything, it is if something seems too perfect, it is. His economic acumen, charisma, and medical skills are far too strange to not grow suspicious of Robert Baratheon. He was the perfect candidate to help the realm, but I had to be sure. Now, I know that my decision to manipulate the king and have Rhaegar marry Elia Martell was the right one. Robert Baratheon fell into a hole and hasn't been the same since. He has barricaded himself in the Stormlands and has created contacts with the other Stormlords. But that was his mistake. There were far more of my little birds in their castles than in Storm's End, and by connecting the two, I was back in business. It won't need much to convince Aerys to remove the Baratheon and take everything he owns. Well, at least before. Now things have changed far too much. My little birds keep disappearing, and my suspicion has traveled from Robert to others. Tywin Lannister is also a possible culprit. But why doesn't he do anything against me? All across Westeros, my little spies are disappearing, and I don't know who's behind that. What's worse is that King Aerys' madness has reached an all-time high. When he returned from Duskendale, he was already changed, but that was a saint compared to what we have now. And it all started after that blasted assassination attempt. The fanatic didn't even kill the king, despite having the chance, which was strange, but he kept shouting that his madness should end and that he should pay for all the suffering. He didn't seem to feel the swords which impaled him and kept stabbing the king's back. Now he is paralyzed. And yet, the nightmare didn't stop there. No, it only started to get worse. Apart from increased killings and the fascination for wildfire, the small folk grew more and more unhappy and resentful towards the king and the entire royal family. Rumors started to appear out of seemingly nowhere. The king's abuse of the queen came to light and enraged the people. More and more executions were held to increase the fear of the small folk. Then there were the attacks and a few riots against the faith of the 7 feet, and the High Septon was lynched. I tried to appease the king before everything spiraled downwards, with the wealth of the Merchant Guild. But that was also ruined, and the guild even left King's Landing. I suspected this to be Robert Baratheon's doing, but their dispute erased that idea from my mind. It happened like everyone knew it would. The Merchant Guild gained too much power and split off from the Baratheons to become independent. It was clear from the beginning, but the young Baratheon had to make his own mistakes. I can't imagine what has been going on with the insects in his grace's food. Someone is trying to either provoke the king or make him more paranoid and cause discord. And to my dismay, I have to admit he or she is succeeding. I don't know who it is that is doing this, and the king is getting more and more distrustful of me, for not knowing it. I tell him the suspects and he burns them, but the truth is I have no idea who is doing it. These changing currents in the criminal side of King's Landing are out of my control and almost out of my sight. The little birds who manage to infiltrate never return, at least that is my guess. Something big is brewing behind the scenes, and I can't help but think of the upcoming tourney at Harrenhal. I know that Crown Prince Rhaegar initiated the idea to hold a tourney. I also heard the rumors and whispers going around Flea Bottom. They desperately wish for a spectacle to take their minds off of the king's madness. I also know his reason and the plans for doing this. Rhaegar plans to remove his father, King Aerys, and gather a following to crown himself as king of Westeros. Sigh. I don't know what to do. Had this been before the assassination attack, I would have told Aerys about the crown prince's plans without question. To prevent a war and internal conflict, the attempts of Rhaegar would have to be stopped. A war would only weaken the realm, and there might even be a chance of Rhaegar dying. We can't afford that. Only a dragon can rule the realm, and if the young Targaryen dies, we would end up with Aerys still. Killing Aerys would then be a real threat, since any ambitious lord. So everyone would look at the young Targaryen children as prey. So why do I still hesitate? Rhaegar changed in the last few years. He used to be a good prince. One who might appear a bit flowery and gentle, but one who knew how things worked and how the game was played. His martial skills were good, and he had the loyalty of most of the king's guard and small folk. But after the assassination attempts, things changed. The rumors and the hate the small folk showed towards all the Targaryens seemed to change him for the worse. I could see and hear how the rejection of the people confused and then angered him. His ego was hurt, and similarly to the king, he became more self-centered. Nothing I tried worked. He started to make more plans, which all failed as the problems only increased across the realm. His good nature changed to something more scheming and petty. He enjoyed dominating Elia Martell, and there was some obsession with having 3 children. Some prophecy apparently, which I don't know about. But when Elia was said to be incapable of bearing more children, he was angry and suddenly ignored his wife. I am sure he is looking for another one to bear him another child. I can only hope he at least gets rid of his current wife, before impregnating another woman. The realm would not stand another atrocity of that scale, and even less if it was a noble lady. Elia Martell is a sad creature. Poor thing. Alone in the Red Keep, surrounded by ambitious men and women, and not being able to know whether someone is genuine or not. The warmth of Dorne is something she misses, and if my little birds are to be believed, the young Baratheon as well. From the messages I was able to see, Robert Baratheon has not responded to her intimate letters with any warmth. He has told her that he is sorry about her situation but has refused to go into any romantic or intimate topics. He has given up on her and dropped her. It must be hard for him and her respectively, after being forced to have the one you love or intend to marry be betrothed to another. That had to have been a great hit to Robert's pride. His retaliation was also the reason I suggested Aerys target his business. It didn't get to that, but thankfully, his business was ruined either way. Now, Robert Baratheon has turned into a skilled Lord Paramount, but his threat will most likely never extend beyond the Stormlands. The North doesn't particularly like Robert, while the Vale is neutral towards him. That is what my little birds told me. The princess is lucky though. Ever since Cersei Lannister arrived in King's Landing with her father, the Hand of the King, the 2 ladies have grown rather close. A rather strange and unlikely combination, but it appeared that they were both lonely. Tywin Lannister is not particularly bothered or amused by the friendship and would prefer his daughter spend more time with the Crown Prince. He has plans for them to marry, and there is a good chance this might happen. So I am unclear about what to do now. Telling Aerys about Rhaegar's plans means that there might be great conflict inside the Targaryen family, and that can't happen. But not telling the king would mean risking my own safety should Eris find out about it. Either way, things would not turn out well and that is very bothersome. Knock knock knock. I am pulled out of my thoughts when someone knocks on my door. I open and see one of the king's servants standing there with a nervous expression. What is it? Lord Varys, His Grace has ordered me to come and get you. I understand. Please tell him that I will be there shortly. I tell him but he doesn't leave. Anything else? My lord, His Grace has asked that I lead you to him as soon as possible. That is strange. Very well then. Let us go. I say, not wanting to keep the king waiting any longer. We walk through the keep and I try to find out why the king has summoned me. The only reason I can think of is the tourney. But if that is the case, then he must have found out about Rhaegar's plans. But how? I hold all the information and the king should only trust me in this regard. Then who was it? We reach the throne room and I walk towards the king who was sitting on the Iron Throne. He wants to continue sitting on it, despite being paralyzed. Servants have to carry him up there every day. I can tell that he is unhappy. After years of being the master of whispers, I have learned to read the king's mood. You called for me, Your Grace. I bow before him. Varys. Tell me. What do you know about the tourney at Harrenhal? I am not sure what you mean, Your Grace. Is there nothing you want to tell me, Varys? Something about my son, for example. Well, Your Grace, I wanted to gather more information before addressing it, but there is indeed something concerning your son. And why didn't you tell me that before? What are you planning, Varys? He asks me. Your Grace. Are you a traitor, Varys? Huh. Your Grace, I would never dare to. Are you a traitor? Answer me. He suddenly shouts. I compose myself as best I can and shake my head. Keeping calm is the most important thing to do when he acts this way. Nothing I say will change his mind. So I have to be smart. No, Your Grace. You would notice whether I am a traitor far too quickly. I am not smart enough to fool you. My only interest is to see all your enemies lie dead before you. Please don't misunderstand or believe the lies of someone else. Then are you lying to me as well? I find it strange that you didn't tell me about the plans my son has when you knew about them for a while now. What do you have to say for yourself? Your Grace. Who told you such lies? I would never betray you. What I said is the truth. I wanted to be certain and have proof before I came before you. I wouldn't ever dare to tell you mere rumors, so I had to be certain about your son's loyalties. And what have you found out? He knows already. He knows, and this is only a test on his part. To see whether I am still loyal to him. How sad, I have no choice in the matter. Someone is whispering in his ear, and from what I can tell, this someone is very skilled at what he or she does. Well, Your Grace. It seems like the Crown Prince Rhaegar, your son, is planning to use this tourney at Harrenhal to gather friends and like-minded lords to gather them for his cause. I believe that. He might be planning to betray you. I see. I will go to Harrenhal and see for myself whether these rumors are to be trusted. If you try to hide something from me again, I will burn you, is that clear? Crystal, Your Grace.